Hey everyone, it's Elliott, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'd like to talk about some ambiguous voicings. Instead of triads, we're going to drop the third down to the 2, or go up to the 4, right? And that kind of gives us a lot of different sounds really quickly while kind of just altering one note. There's a handful of different applications for this, and one would be like, say, if you're comping behind somebody or setting the mood for an intro or something like that, and you're just hitting a bunch of C, it's just like C, and keep at it until the song starts or whatever. That can get kind of boring maybe, or maybe a bit like just general soup. Sometimes that goes on a little bit too far, and you might want to create a little bit of movement while not drifting from C. One way to do that is to play with these voicings, which will always include a ninth and a fourth, or a fourth and a ninth. Whether it be a major 9, flat 9, sharp 4, perfect fourth, that's up to the voicing. So in the case of C, we could do one that you might already know, right? And then we can go down from the third. Back up to the fourth. Right? Like that. And that can be a really fun way to kind of create a little bit of movement in C while using these voicings. Now, of course, if you wanted to play only those voicings, then we end up in a very different scenario. If I were to take them up the scale like I would triads, then it starts to get pretty interesting. So let's start with this one, which will be a fourth and then a second. So it'll be the root, fourth, and a 5, and work our way up the scale. Pretty nice sounds, honestly. Kind of coming back to C there. Just for due diligence, let's also do the ninth and then a fourth. So we have the 1, 9, or 1, 2, and 5. Here comes a tricky one. That's a grown-up chord. Here I could even do. Right? Also really interesting sounds. Some tricky businesses there. But overall, very nice sounds. So instead of just using them as a way to kind of make a vamp interesting, right? Which is a wonderful use. We can also use them just to purposely keep things vague. So here's an example of kind of comping in C, but never really explicitly hitting a C triad. I ended up going to the triad there at the end just to kind of bring it home. But you see how initially it was kind of if I knew it was C and someone was playing those voice things, we'd end up with some really interesting combinations. I'd be holding while someone's holding especially that one, right? We're going to end up with some pretty interesting stuff, and we're just playing around in C. There's no altered chords happening here. There's no real complicated chords. It's just regular old C, except we're using these kind of different, maybe more colorful voicings. Also, they're not super complicated voicings. It's not like C major 7, 9, 13, which can be a little daunting where you're like, and I got to figure out all my inversions of that. Like, no, it's just, hit your triads like you would up a scale. And then take the third and go down or up. Like that. What I like about this exercise is that it takes the triad shapes, which we all, need to know and go over, and it treats it kind of like a roadmap, the straight and narrow, like you'll get there roadmap. And the more you know the shapes of things, the more you go, okay, I can just find the third and then apply this and immediately have two more voicings. Like we have this that we already did, but let's move the fifth down and go to another inversion. I still can find the third and go. Move the third down and get to another inversion. Find the third and go. And then take the root down, end up here. And there we go. Now, while working out my triads, I'm able to go right? And that's just me messing with a C triad and then, again, suspending the third over to a 2 or a 4. I first came across these voicings in a more jazzy context when I was playing the song Smash by Avishai Cohen. He was using these. In that kind of way. And that also, again, creates a sense of some sort of vagueness, but some sort of movement. That song Smash is off of his album Continuo and Gently Disturbed. Whew. Highly recommend you take a listen, as well as 7 C's and plenty of his other albums. These voicings aren't only good for comping though, just using them as chords. Right? They're also wonderful arpeggios to fit into your lead lines. Say I'm in C again, and I really kind of want to spice things up. I don't want it to be like a C major pentatonic business. That sounds nice, but maybe I don't want it right then. If I wanted to create a different kind of sound, again, I can just take those chords that I'd worked out previously, and all of a sudden I get like. So you see, it gets kind of a modern-ish sound. I remember when my teacher taught me this when I was at Berkeley, I was like, oh, these are some cool modern voicings. He was like, these have been around since the 80s, if not before, 60s, 70s, like, whatever. These are old voicings. And I was like, okay. But whatever. I think it still kind of has a bit more, you know, a different kind of sound than, especially in comparison to that. So maybe this week when you're going over triads, maybe take that third, drop it down one, raise it up one, and mess around a little bit. Also, if you're feeling particularly adventurous and have maybe a wonderful time stretching your fingers, you could drop or raise the fifth. Etc. Raising it is not so intense. That's fine. But dropping it, you end up with those. But when you're up here, it's kind of like a neat waterfall effect. I get like, right? There's something about starting with that half step and then basically doing anything after that, sliding to it, or that just feels like kind of a slick move. So again, I hope you have some fun with these voicings. Work them into your lead lines or work them into your comping. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.